Welcome back, focused learners. Today, we're peeling back the layers on something incredibly fascinating, the actual mechanics of global wealth generation. We're going to look way beyond your standard everyday asset allocation and really examine the subterranean mechanics of institutional power that our source material lays out. Let's find out how the financial game is actually played behind closed doors. Okay, let's dive right into this. According to the framework we're exploring today, there are actually two totally distinct economies running at the exact same time. On one side, you've got the visible economy, salaries, income tax brackets, retail banks. The source material argues this system is basically designed to keep everyday workers running in place. But right beneath the surface is what's referred to as the shadow economy. And no, it's not illegal. It's a highly sophisticated, completely legal parallel financial matrix. The elite operating here don't just save currency or buy standard stocks. They manipulate asset liquidity, secure land rights, and actually acquire the core infrastructure behind those stocks. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We've just touched on the two economies. Next, we'll break down Rule 1, Information Arbitrage, followed by Rule 2, Never Sell, and Rule 3, Sovereign Credit. Finally, we'll wrap it all up with your invisible blueprint. All right, moving right along to Rule 1. We're calling this the timing disconnect, or the asymmetric information monopoly. To really grasp this disconnect, we have to talk about a beautiful lie we're all taught to believe, and that's market efficiency, the idea that public financial info is out there for everyone at the exact same time. Well, the framework argues this is a total misconception. The ultra-wealthy, they are absolutely not trading on public trends. They trade on information arbitrage. That basically means positioning capital in the pre-market phase of assets way before the public is even aware they exist. By the time an exciting new investment trend hits Reddit, YouTube, or the nightly news, the foundational profit has usually already been extracted by the 1%. Let's move to the math and see how this builds over an asset's life cycle. Just look at this timeline mapping an asset's trajectory. The elite capture maximum yield by getting in at point 1. That is 5 whole years before anyone else even knows about it. This is the private equity phase, where they act as venture capitalists. A $10,000 investment here can literally scale 100 to 1,000 times by the time it reaches T0, which is the public launch. By the time it hits T+, the general public is just paying a massive retail premium. Basically, the 1% operate a lot like a sovereign syndicate. They form these private skill networks, fund commercial infrastructure early, acquire agricultural land pre-market, and heavily utilize private credit lending. The theory suggests that if retail buyers are purchasing assets based on late public news, well, they're essentially just providing exit liquidity for these early institutional investors. True wealth generation, according to this model, requires shifting your entire focus to these closed ecosystems. Which brings us to Rule 2, the tax and liquidity loophole, all built around asset collateralization. Let me ask you a very relatable question. What does a regular person do when an investment suddenly spikes in value? The instinct is usually to sell it, right? Cash out. But when you give in to that retail instinct and sell an asset, two incredibly painful things happen instantly. First, you trigger a massive taxable event, surrendering 20 to 35% of your hard-earned growth straight to the government in capital gains tax. And second, you kill your golden goose. That asset stops compounding for you forever. The elite instinct, on the other hand, is to collateralize. They never sell. They maintain their core asset growth while securing low-interest lines of credit against it. Now, what's really interesting about this next concept is the specific chronological loop utilized by the ultra-wealthy. In wealth management, it's often referred to as buy, borrow, die. Fun fact, that term was actually coined by a tax law professor back in the 1990s. But the strategy has been quietly used by the elite for generations. Step 1, buy high-quality appreciating assets. Step 2, instead of cashing out when you need money, you borrow against those assets at low institutional interest rates. And Step 3, you pay 0% income tax. I want to punch in hard on that single number right there, 0%. How is that even mathematically or legally possible? Well, it's simple. Legally, debt is not considered income. Therefore, the tax rate on a multi-million-dollar lifestyle loan that's backed by an asset is exactly 0. And this brilliantly illustrates the concrete math behind that abstract theory. Let's look at a hypothetical $100 million portfolio. Let's say it has a core growth of 8 to 10% annually. If the owner needs $10 million to fund a new project or, just fund their lifestyle, they simply take a loan. The loan cost is maybe 3 to 4% interest. The result? The core wealth of the billionaire easily outpaces the cost of their borrowed capital. They use tax-free borrowed money to live on, while their main portfolio just keeps growing completely untouched. Now, let's step into Rule 3, the private ecosystem, exploring the velocity of sovereign credit. This leads us to the ultimate secret of powerful family offices. Their goal isn't just to use a bank, they literally want to become the bank. You've probably heard elite jargon like private family trusts or infinite banking. These are legal structures that essentially create an internal credit ecosystem. While the general public is stuck using commercial banking that offers a measly 0.5% interest on savings, these private structures are designed to provide fixed growth and completely insulate assets. Let's break down the logic and flow of how this actually operates. Step 1, profits are routed directly into high cash value structures. Then, when a family member needs capital for a new venture, they just take an internal loan from this trust. And here is the absolute magic of it all. They pay the interest directly back to their own family pool. The capital literally never leaves the family ecosystem. It just compounds across generations, staying largely protected from inflation, lawsuits, and external economic crashes. You are essentially operating your own private lending facility. All right, that brings us to our final section, your invisible blueprint. So the crucial point we're taking away from this framework is that the visible economy is fundamentally designed to keep the average person running in place. To generate true wealth, you have to look beyond it. The source material outlines 3 major shifts you need to make. 1. Stop chasing late public media and start seeking information arbitrage. 2. Stop cashing out and killing your golden goose. Adopt the never sell doctrine and utilize collateralization. And 3. Treat your capital as an internal ecosystem, as sovereign credit. The difference between financial struggle and absolute freedom often lies entirely in the blueprint you choose to follow. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Take a really hard look at your current long-term strategy. Are you still playing the visible game, or are you ready to start building invisible wealth? Let that question linger, and let it inspire you to rethink your own wealth generation strategies. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the visible, and I'll catch you next time.